pretty explicit in some of the line of questioning that the previous members had. What would you characterize as your senior leadership team, and what proportion of that are Māori?
I'm very happy to get back to the. I would have to go.
Okay, they'll come back to that. Right. Okay, I'm going to go to a primary for the Honourable Dr. Tipper Russell.
Thank you. I just want to dig into the appropriations, so the report on last year's appropriations. There's a couple of questions I want to raise in there. So in that report, under the leadership of the vote regulation, departmental output expenses, they were budgeted for 2,120 and they ended up at, 2,110, they ended up at 2,334. 2.334 million, something like that. Just a little bit above where you went to be, but it was a couple in the context. It was about 10% above. What was going on there that meant you just spent a little bit outside your appropriation in the year to 30 June 24? Yeah.
I mean, we started on the 1st of May with 6 people and a couple of desks. In terms of building the ministry, there was an estimate made. We made a little bit more progress than we expected, and that was great news. And Treasury were very comfortable with that, as have our auditors been.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that explanation. And I just want to go again to, it's the report on performance measures to June 24 and the assessment of performance. And in terms of the Minister's satisfaction with the Policy Advice Service,
Yep.
Bit of a low score, unfortunately. I appreciate you're new, but you said you're aiming for getting an average score of 4 out of 5 or better, but you actually came at 3.39.
Yep.
What did you do to lift that? I presume you've lifted it since.
Well, I think there's 2 scores. So just want to be clear, there's a score for the policy quality advice that's independently reviewed, and then there's a score for ministerial satisfaction. We did set our scores as a pretty ambitious target. It's a 4 out of 5 whenever you're first starting, and you have no established relationship, no established work programme. It's pretty significant. I can tell you that our ministerial satisfaction score has trended upwards. So it has actually it has risen every 6 months we do it? Is it every quarter? Every quarter. It's risen every quarter. So it is on the uptick. But on the other quality of policy advice, we did hit our targets. So we are seen as providing good quality advice as per the standards for the public service.
Okay, thank you. Just carrying on with appropriations, I'm looking at the supplementary estimates of appropriation for the year to this year, I suppose. So it's on page 770 of Treasury's report. Really look into yourself. And you were budgeted for the year 2024-25, you were budgeted $16 million. But there was a supplementary estimate there, 2 ones. One was capital expenditure of 356,000. I mean, I shouldn't say just whatever, but whatever. But because I appreciate you had to build up the ministry. But then in that leadership of the regulatory quality system appropriation, you spent an extra 936,000. So in the context of a budget of 16 million, that's actually quite significant.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we came in very close to our 16 million. I mean, for those of you who have obviously been in government before, you know that trying to land on the exact dollar figure is like trying to land a 747 on a dime. Again, the auditors are very comfortable, have said we've got good financial controls, and we worked with Treasury in terms of forecasting where we would be at the end of the year, and then making sure we had all the appropriate paperwork to support that.
Okay, it's actually a 5% or a 6% overspend. And I appreciate, if you're doing your audit, something over 10% is significant, something under 5 is not, and there's a judgment in between. It does seem like quite a big overspend.
Right, I would say it's not, but I'll hand to my colleague here who can give you some more detail.
Sure. So the 16,936 million that you're referring to is made up of our original $16 million budget that was appropriated at the establishment of the ministry. And then in addition to that, a carry forward of the 23-24 underspend of $436,000 that was appropriately authorised. And also an initiative to bring forward $500,000 from out years to cover the cost of an urgent Waitangi Tribunal claim for the Regulatory Standards Bill. So that was all done within appropriate processes and approved.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
I've got another primary, but that can go to the bottom of the list.
Okay, this side of the table.
Yep, those are all primaries.
So let me get this straight. They had a budget that was less than $1 million. Then they ended up overspending and still got a score less than 4 out of 5, right? Apparently there are 2 scores and their scores have trended upwards. But I don't know how much they've trended upwards by. She didn't state any of that. And they still have no Māori advisors or technicians. They've probably got Māori cleaners. I imagine they're very talented.
Right.
But very intellectual.
Well, it might not be Māori. There might be Pacific Islander as well. I mean, Koura is only up the road.
Yeah, so Oh, fuck. These answers, man, I can't.
It's all right. I mean, put it this way. You know, we won't have to worry about more for tonight.
Yeah. Well, I was actually going to ask our audience to chime in. Do you want us to continue? We've got about 20 minutes of this left.
I'm quite fine to not
Same
continue
here.
with that.
Same here. I've got a coffee cut opener tomorrow morning.
Yes. Like, anyone who needs to duck out is welcome to duck out. If anyone wants me to continue, I'm happy to just let it run through
Gee, you're nice.
myself for anyone in the audience who wants me to. It's the same thing I did last night. I did not fucking care about going over time because there was shit to cover. And we still didn't even make it into the second video.
Yeah.
But actually, okay, what I will do, copy.
Yeah. So the moral of the story,
Alright.
guys, is please do a submission. Please be a woke submission bot and submit against the regulatory standards bill because this is all trash.
Yep.
Seems to be that the regulatory standards ministry or regulatory ministry of regulation is all about just reinforcing Pākehā privilege and property rights.